Glad to see everyone is still alive after surviving 2 straight nights of very long wrestling shows. Tonight's show going 4.5 hours, pretty much. And if you were complaining about the length of this show, I guess you're not going to enjoy WrestleMania tomorrow night. But I am here to talk to you guys about the New Japan Pro Wrestling Ring of Honor joint show G1 Supercard, live from Madison Square Garden in New York City. Of course, this is your boy Derek J407, who followed all the action all night, all 4.5 hours of it, plus a battle royal on the pre-show. So it was almost a full 5-hour show, which I think, top to bottom, I would say was a very good show. Maybe even a great show, but it was not a perfect show. Now, what show is perfect? Well, probably NXT TakeOver, but aside from that, what other kind of show is perfect? And this one was not. Definitely a mixed bag. From what I'm seeing on Twitter, there was a lot of mixed reactions to many things that happened on this show. Many of the decisions, particularly a lot of the decisions pertaining to the outcomes of certain matches under the Ring of Honor banner, and not so much the New Japan stuff. I think pretty much everyone collectively agrees that anything that was solely New Japan was great, but a lot of the stuff that was solely Ring of Honor, not everyone agreed with everything. And I guess we'll go into that, what my thoughts are on this show. Like I said, I thought this was a really good show. I probably would venture off to say great. But I would say it's not perfect. There were a lot of hiccups on this show. Some of the production qualities of this show, some of the camera work, stuff like that was a little off. So I don't know who the main crew in charge of this was, whether it was New Japan's people or Ring of Honor's people or whoever. But there was some stuff that was off during the course of this show. And so I'll just go ahead and get right into it, and we'll talk about everything that happened on this show, both stuff that was planned and potentially unplanned, although we don't know that for sure. We'll get to that when we get to it. But let's start with the pre-show. They aired the Honor Rumble, which was about 30 or so people in it. Not going to go through every single person who entered this match, but, the likes of Kenny King, Cheeseburger, Bad Luck Fale, TK Orion, Vinny Marseglia, Tomohiro Ishii was in this match, Hiroki Goto, King Haku, he was in this match. Of course, Minoru Suzuki, him and Kenny King were the two guys who started this match. And of course, Jushin Thunder Liger, who is going to be retiring next year at the Tokyo Dome shows. He wanted to perform on this show because he wanted to perform in Madison Square Garden. And we saw something really cool. It came down to himself and the Great Muta, who was a big surprise, got a huge ovation for that surprise appearance in this match. It came down to the two of them up against TK Orion and Vinny Marseglia. And they eliminated the two Kingdom members. So it came down to Muta and Liger, and it looked like one of them was going to get the big win. But out of nowhere came Kenny King to eliminate both of them. Apparently he didn't get eliminated earlier in the match, so he snuck back in, eliminated both guys, and got the win. And with this win, he has earned a championship match for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship at a future date. But Kenny King did not get the last laugh. That belonged to the Great Muta, who after the match sprayed red mist in Kenny King's face. So there you go. But the main show kicked off, and I couldn't think of a better way to kick it off other than a title for title match. We saw the Ring of Honor TV champion Jeff Cobb taking on the IWGP Never Openweight champion Will Osprey. Now, of course, the crowd was hot for the majority of the show, but they were really hot for this match. They loved both guys, especially Osprey. And it was the kind of match you would expect, especially from someone like Will Osprey. A lot of fast-paced action, a lot of high-flying, flippy stuff going on in this match from both men. Because, like, you know, Jeff Cobb, you wouldn't think with his size, but he can do a lot of really innovative moves. And he did some really cool stuff in this match. One spot that really stuck out to me in this match, Osprey was going to hit his Os Cutter move, but when he went up midair for it, Cobb caught him and threw him into the corner. But Osprey managed to catch himself and landed in on the middle rope, or maybe it was the top, but he landed on it, and then he dove off and hit Cobb with the Os Cutter anyway. So I thought that was really cool. But the finish came when both men were up top on the top turnbuckle. Osprey was going to hit his Stormbreaker move, but Cobb managed to weasel his way out of it and hit the Tour of the Islands off of there, which, if you're a Lucha Underground fan, you know Matanza, it's Wrath of the Gods. So he hit the Wrath of the Gods off the top turnbuckle, then he hit a proper one in the middle of the ring and got the win. So Jeff Cobb is now both the TV champion and the never openweight champion. So I guess this means we're going to get more of Jeff Cobb in New Japan. So definitely looking forward to seeing him compete there more often. Up next, we got a match between Dalton Castle and Roosh. The commentators were really playing up the fact that ever since Dalton Castle lost his Ring of Honor World Championship, he just has not been doing well. And I think all this year, he has not won a single match yet. So you felt going in that, okay, this match may not be all that important, but there is a story to it in that Dalton Castle's been struggling. And the struggle is real and is going to keep continuing, because in this match, he was distracted. Sorry about that. He was distracted early on by like a feather in the ring or something like that. So one of his boys, you know, he has the boys, he got them to get it out of there and all that kind of stuff. So the bell rang, and then out of nowhere, Roosh comes in, immediately drop kicks him into the corner. And so while he's laying down in the corner, Roosh just drives into him with a bunch of drop kicks, pulls him in the middle of the ring, and pins him. So a very dominant win for Roosh in a few seconds, makes him look like $1 million. After the match, Dalton Castle is beside himself. He cannot believe he lost, especially that way. And the boys were trying to cheer him up. He was trying to wave them off. They put themselves in a position to, you know, set up themselves like a throne for him to sit on. That's usually what they do. But instead, you could see it coming a mile away. Castle ended up just beating up both of the boys. He even hit one of them with his bangarang finish. So it looks like they are heading down the road of a heel turn for Dalton Castle, just completely frustrated with constantly losing and all that stuff. So I guess we're going to keep tabs on what's going to happen there. Before the next match, they showed quickly backstage in the locker room, Juice Robinson laid out. It looked like he was completely laid out. He had a bunch of chairs covering him, so he looked like he was done for. And he was originally supposed to be the one to challenge Bully Ray later on the show in a street fight. Bully Ray had an open challenge, and it was going to be Juice Robinson who accepted it, but he was laid out here, so the referees and officials and all that kind of stuff decided that he was unable to compete in the match, which clearly did not play that much of a role, but we'll get to that in a little bit. First up, the next match in question that I talked about before was the Women of Honor World Championship match. Mayu Iwatani defending her championship against Kelly Klein. A pretty good match. Nothing really stood out majorly in this match. It was okay. Definitely not as good as the women's match we saw on the TakeOver show the previous night. And probably not as good as the triple threat main event match we're going to see at WrestleMania tomorrow night. But it was fine for what it was. The crowd wasn't really 100% into it. They were down the stretch, but they were respectful of it, and the women, you could tell they were busting their asses. But in the end, it was Kelly Klein who got the win. She hit her K-Power move. She hit two of them and got the win. After the match, her and Iwatani, they shook hands, they hugged and all that kind of stuff. She left, and Kelly Klein was still in the ring. And out came Velvet Sky and Angelina Love. If you're not familiar with the two of them, they were the two founding members of an old faction from TNA many, many years ago called the Beautiful People. And that faction ran in different parts and in different incarnations for years and years. So here they are popping up on a Ring of Honor TV. Velvet Sky looking very beautiful. Angelina Love, not to be disrespectful, but not so much. Plastic surgery is very tricky, and it's not for everyone. But sometimes it's too late to tell people that. So that's all I can really say about that. But they got in the ring. They faced off with Kelly Klein. And then up from the commentary table came Mandy Leon. She's a member of the Women of Honor division. She's been in the company for many years now, and she was doing guest commentary for this match. So she came to the ring. She stood side by side with Kelly Klein, and this was pretty obvious what was about to come next, and didn't disappoint. She ended up attacking Kelly Klein. Now, she turned heel, but she did it literally. She literally took off her shoe, which was a heel, and she hit Kelly Klein in the back with it. So she literally gave her a heel turn. She turned on her with her heel. So I thought that was kind of clever. So the three of them, they beat down Kelly Klein. Some other women in the division came out there. They got beat down too. They ended up writing something on her head with some lipstick. It was the A symbol for like anarchy, I think it is. And then when the three women went up the ramp and onto the stage, behind them on the Tron was in letters, the Allure. So it looks like that's going to be the name of their faction, the Allure. So I guess this is a new faction going on now. So not the biggest fan of Velvet Sky and Angelina Love being in Ring of Honor, but Bully Ray is one of the top officials in Ring of Honor right now. So of course it makes sense that Velvet Sky just so happens to find her way in the company now too. So there you go. Now, my timing's a little bit off on this because I was only watching this show, but as most of you know, the WWE Hall of Fame was also occurring at the exact same time at the Barclays Center. Now, I don't know for sure if it was after this match or during this match or when exactly this moment happened, but I see my Twitter feed blowing up, and I look and I see a lot of people talking about Bret Hart. So as you know, the Hart Foundation got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and giving the speech was Bret Hart and Natalya. And during the speech, when Bret Hart was speaking, apparently some fan in a Rastafarian hat or whatever rushed the ring. So unlike previous years, they were doing the speeches inside the ring this time, which was interesting. So a fan hopped the barricade, got in the ring, and tried to tackle down Bret Hart. And I think he even did. I think like video footage of what happened, like cam recording footage from fans and all that kind of stuff in the arena, they showed what happened, and he actually did tackle Bret Hart to the ground. Bret Hart, numerous injuries, concussions, a stroke victim. He got tackled. Now, Natalya was there to kind of break his fall, but yeah, immediately the wrestlers all around ringside, they swarmed the ring. Ronda Rousey's husband, Travis Brown, the MMA fighter, he took him down. Guys like, I saw people like Heath Slater, Drake Maverick, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, people like that were all surrounding the ring. Even Edge, Tyson Kidd, of course. Dash Wilder, who, while escorting the guy out of there, gave him a good punch right to the jaw. So, yeah, shit like that really pisses me off. You know, they're giving a speech honoring someone who's deceased right now, and it's not enough to disrupt that, but you're taking down and tackling a legend, a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, who has this long list of injuries, who should not be taking bumps. So I hope you enjoyed that, because that was probably one of the only times you'll see Bret Hart ever take a bump. Luckily, he's okay. I haven't heard anything about him being hurt seriously or anything like that. Apparently the guy got arrested, and he has a bunch of charges on him. Good. He needs to be banned for life from any and all WWE shows from this day until the day he dies. That shit is completely unacceptable. I don't care if that was fucking Curtis Axel in the ring. That shit is completely unacceptable, and that should not occur ever again. So I know that happened during the show, and that kind of caught my attention, so I just wanted to talk about that real quick. Back to the G1 Supercard show, we had some rapper, Mega Ran, come out or whatever. He was rapping. The fans didn't give a shit. Bully Ray came out there, and Mega Ran was talking shit, and he ended up getting punched and shoved out of the ring, much to the fans' delight. With Juice Robinson out, Bully Ray said the open challenge is back on, and out came Flip Gordon. The two of them had a very long feud lasting majority of last year that ended seemingly at a final battle when Flip Gordon made Bully Ray say I quit and kind of ended their feud. So he came out there, and the open fight was for a street fight, so they were having a street fight. But not too long after the match started, we had the appearance of Shane Taylor and Silas Young, who were excluded from this pay-per-view and wanted to get on it. And we've seen Silas Young join Bully Ray in some beatdowns on Flip Gordon in the past, so it made sense for him out there. Shane Taylor, another big heel. And then, so much for being unable to compete, because out came Juice Robinson along with his fellow Lifeblood partner, Mark Haskins, and they challenged Bully, Shane, and Silas to a 6-man tag team street fight. So from that point on, we had a all-out brawl. A lot of chaos happened in this match. A lot of stuff with kendo sticks. At one point, both Haskins and Juice were down, and Gordon was stuck in the middle of all three heels who each had kendo sticks, and he was encouraging them like, you know what, you want to hit me, hit me. So he got up in Silas Young's face, Shane Taylor's face, and was egging them on to hit him, which they did very hard. You could see the welts on his back. He got in Bully Ray's face and was telling him to do it, and he slapped him, flipped him off, and all that kind of stuff. But I think he did hit him. But then the other baby faces came in. They had kendo sticks, so he had a kendo stick off, and the Silas and Taylor, they were taken out, and Bully Ray was surrounded, and I don't think they really got to hit him with it though. And then from there, a bunch of other crazy shit happened. At one point, Bully, with an assist from Shane Taylor and Silas Young, powerbomb Flip Gordon through a table off of the top turnbuckle. There was this like wooden pallet thing that Juice Robinson had. He set it up in the corner, and he had I believe it was Shane Taylor. He had him propped up on it, and he did a cannonball on him through the thing. So that was cool. They did the was up headbutt to the crotch on Bully Ray. And then after Juice hit spine buster, Flip Gordon went up for a 450 splash, and the babyfaces win. So a big win for Flip Gordon, Juice Robinson, Mark Haskins, who I know were probably all giddy that they got to compete in Madison Square Garden. So good for them. Up next, we had a triple threat match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Just, days, weeks away from the beginning of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament for New Japan. We saw three of the best here compete, representing three completely different companies. You had Taiji Ishimori representing New Japan, who was the champion. You had Dragon Lee representing, what was it, CMLL, I think he's representing. And, of course, Bandito, who's representing Ring of Honor. These three men went out there and had a kick-ass match. I fucking loved this match. This was so much fun. So much shit. There was so much fast-paced action. It's just hard to remember every single thing. I tried keeping notes. It was just hard after a while. And then I tried to go back and refresh my mind on what was going on. But there was just so much cool stuff going on at once. It was this really cool spot where Bandito gave Dragon Lee a Hurricane Rana off the top turnbuckle, and then Ishimori, he took down Bandito, but then out of nowhere, Dragon Lee comes back in and hits like a instant out of nowhere Canadian Destroyer on Ishimori, and that was just really cool. Bandito, he was a star in this match. He at one point hit a fall away slam moonsault combo thing. He held both men at the same time on the top turnbuckle and dove off in moonsault fashion and hit a fall away slam. So it wasn't the prettiest thing, but it was pretty brutal. But towards the end, we see Dragon Lee hit a reverse Rana on Bandito. He goes right into Ishimori with the high knee strike, and then he gives Bandito this really cool move. It's like an underhook flip up move that slam him into the mat. It's really hard to explain, but it was really cool to see. And with that move, he got the win. So Dragon Lee is your new IWGP Heavyweight Champion, and this was great. Up to this point was the best match of the night, the most fun thing we saw all night, and like I said, I had a lot of fun watching it. It was a really fun match. Up next, we had a fatal 4-way tag team match for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles and the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. We had the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, the Guerillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tangaloa. We had the ROH Tag Team Champions, Villain Enterprises, which was comprised of Brody King and PCO. Had LIJ, represented, of course, by Evil and Sonata, and the Briscoes, Jay and Mark. PCO had this really interesting entrance where he was supposed to be passed out, and then he got put in an electric chair, and it was supposed to shock him back to life. Probably something that sounded much better on paper, but the way it looked, it just kind of came off looking a little stupid, to be honest with you. But this match was not stupid. This was crazy, especially PCO. This motherfucker, like, how old is PCO? He's in his 50s, right? He's up there in age, and he was doing some crazy shit in this match. At one point, he hit a swanton bomb, pretty much, off of the top turnbuckle onto Mark Briscoe, who was laid out on the ring apron. So that looked just brutal. I couldn't believe I just saw him do that. But even crazier than that, the Guerillas of Destiny powerbombed PCO out of the ring to the outside, not through a table or anything like that. They just powerbombed him out of the ring onto the floor. PCO, this 50-plus-year-old man, gets powerbombed from the ring all the way out to the floor by these two strong Tongans. So that was brutal. And at one point, he sat up Undertaker style and just let out like this loud scream, but then went right back down. So he was pretty much done for, but it's like he wasn't completely dead though. So that was just, that was brutal. But everyone shined at some point in this match. Evil and Sonata kind of felt a little left out. They weren't really a huge presence in this match. Kind of forgot they were even there, especially with the stuff that happened after the match. But yeah, it was still good. Everyone got a chance to shine. But in the end, it was Tangaloa and Tama Tonga who hit a powerbomb on Brody King off the top rope and got the win. So they win both belts. They showed in the rampway, Yano had stolen the IWGP Tag Team title belts, so not sure what was going on there. And honestly, it was a complete backdrop to what was going on at ringside. So towards the end of the match and at the finish, see a fan. We kind of see in the background because the cameras are actively trying to avoid showing what's going on over there, but it looks like a fan with white hair just jumped the barricade and is trying to attack the Briscoes, and the Briscoes are beating them down, Jay and Mark, and we even see Bully Ray out there, and he's beating up this other fan. Turns out it was Enzo Amore and Big Cass. They invaded this show, got booed viciously by the crowd, and were both beaten down with some very stiff shots. Now, you couldn't see the whole thing because after the match, they cut to the commentators, and they were actively trying to avoid showing what was going on in the background. They were avoiding it, but you could hear the crowd react to it. And then, of course, on Twitter, people put up videos of what was going on. Yeah. Now, initially, everyone was thinking, okay, well, Enzo did this once at Survivor Series last year. He invaded the show and got kicked out and looked like a complete idiot. So now he's doing it again here, except this time he brought Big Cass with him, and now they both look like idiots and are getting beaten to shit with some stiff, hard punches from Jay and Mark Briscoe and Bully Ray. So you think they're just idiots, which they still are to a certain degree, and you think it's all a shoot. But it turns out there's a good chance this was all a work. Now, people were picking up on videos of this being posted on YouTube, were getting retweeted by the Ring of Honor Twitter page. So that's the only confirmation we have that it's a work, but that's a pretty strong confirmation that it's probably most likely a work. So it looks like Kaz and Enzo, who is now spelling it, I think, N, lowercase n, capital Z, lowercase o. So there you go. But it looks like they're probably in Ring of Honor, and they probably booked this to make it look as real as possible. It just so happens to have happened on the same night as in the Barclays Center, many blocks away in Brooklyn. that whole thing happened with the Fan and Bret Hart at that whole thing. That was completely real. There was nothing fake about that. But this is debatable, and it's looking like it was a work. And it's looking like it's probably kind of like an invasion thing. Like, these two don't belong here. They're outsiders. They don't fit into what we're doing, or some shit like that. Which, you know, people who thought it was a shoot were just disgusted by it. They're sick of Enzo, and now Kaz is involved too, and it's just like, it's just so stupid. Now that it's looking like it's a work, it's also getting mixed reactions from people. I haven't really seen anyone who's like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm not saying people like that don't exist, but I just haven't seen it. It's looking like people are a little put off by this, and just aren't really fans of Enzo and Kaz coming into Ring of Honor in any capacity, which I could do without it. But it's not like I watch Ring of Honor week to week and like religiously follow the program. But I mean, I support them and I try to watch as much as possible. But it's not going to really make or break whether or not I watch Ring of Honor. Nothing on this show is going to just prevent me from just all out quitting Ring of Honor. You know, there ain't nothing they did in this show that I haven't seen WWE do, if not worse. So they ain't gonna quit me that easily. I'm gonna keep watching as much as I do, maybe even a little bit more, maybe a little less, but it just all depends. But I don't know. I mean, if it was a work, it was a hell of a feel. It felt real. They got me. You know, there's sometimes even in these days they can get you, and that definitely got me. So if this is all a work and this was all planned and they are in the company, whatever. Unfortunately, this whole thing was kind of distracting, so I couldn't thoroughly enjoy the next match, which was Saber Jr. and Hiroshi Tanahashi for Saber's Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship. But I did get into the match, especially thanks to Saber Jr., who's a fucking monster with his submissions. They look brutal, but the crowd was thoroughly in love with Hiroshi Tanahashi, as am I. I love the guy, but he was no match for Saber Jr.'s submissions. He tried his own stuff here and there, but for the most part, it was all Saber. And in the end, he had, I don't want to call it a stretch muffler because that's not what it is, but he had like this stretching submission hold where he had Tanahashi's arms stretched all the way back. I think he was even yanking on his knee and pulling that back a little bit too, and it looked so brutal. And it looked like Tanahashi, he was given the verbal submission pretty much, and he gave up the match. Saber Jr. is still British Heavyweight Champion. And yeah, I was a little distracted by the Enzo and Kaz stuff, and that's when the footage of what happened with Bret Hart started to come a little more clear. So I was a little distracted by all that kind of stuff, but I was still trying to pay as much attention to this match as possible, and I still enjoyed it for the most part. And yeah, Saber Jr., like I said, is a beast, and he was on full display in this match. Up next was probably my favorite match on the show. Tetsuya Naito defending the Intercontinental Championship against Kot Ibushi. This was the match I was looking forward to the most on this show, and it looked like it was a match everyone in this crowd was looking forward to the most because there were chants of holy shit before they even touched. I think these two guys, minus Okada and Tanahashi, are two of the biggest fan favorites from New Japan right now, and maybe even excluding Osprey. But these two guys are fucking beloved, and I love them. They're probably my top two favorite guys. Maybe I like Okada a little bit more than Naito, but these two guys create magic. They had a really awesome match in the New Japan Cup to determine the number one contender for the IWGP Championship in the main event of this show. But these guys had a really good match then, and I was really looking forward to what they were going to do here, and it was great. Of course, you can't have an Ibushi match without spots with him landing on his head and neck, and that's exactly what we got here. At one point, Naito hit him with a drop kick, a one-boot drop kick, and it sent Ibushi backwards, and he landed right on his head and neck. It was ugly. It was very ugly. But something that was not ugly, but was rather very pretty, came a little bit later when both men were on the ring apron, and they were kind of fighting it out a little bit, and Naito kind of stepped backwards and kind of ran right into a Hurricane Rana from Ibushi, and he gave him a Hurricane Rana and Rana'd him off the apron onto the floor. It looked sick. I probably don't make it sound that cool, but believe me, it was really cool to see. A little bit later in the match, we saw this spot. I think it was a spot that we saw in the Matt Riddle Velveteen Dream match from TakeOver, where Ibushi was on the ropes and Naito was outside the ring but on the apron, and he had his back turned to Ibushi, and Ibushi was facing frontwards, and Naito had his back turned to him, and while standing on the ropes, Ibushi picked him up over the top rope and gave him a German suplex right into the ring, and it looked sick. It looked sicker than the Riddle Dream spot, because this one, it looked like Naito died. It looked like he landed on his head and got killed. So it was not pretty at all. But he did recover, and at one point he hit Ibushi with a reverse Rana, hit him with the Destino. Looked like it was all over, but Ibushi kicked out right at 2. And then towards the finish, we see Ibushi hit the last ride powerbomb, only good for a 2 count, but he immediately goes into the Kamigoye knee and gets the win. So Kot Ibushi is the new IWGP Intercontinental Champion, and it's great to see him win. Like I said, Kot Ibushi, I have a soft spot for that dude, and I see big things in his future. Hell, I could see him possibly main eventing the Tokyo Dome next year, or at least one of the shows, since they're going to do 2 of them at the Tokyo Dome next year. So I could easily see him getting a main event spot on that show. And yeah, this was a crazy match. My words don't do it justice. If you only watch one thing from this show, I would recommend you watch the last 3 or 4 matches on this show. But if you only watch one thing, watch this match for sure. Another great match that was friggin' insane and caused some divide on Twitter, at least my timeline, was the triple threat ladder match for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. You have Jay Lethal defending the title against the self-professed real world champion and leader of the kingdom, Matt Taven, and of course the villain Marty Scurll. What to say about this match? There was definitely a lot that happened in this match. At one point, Lethal had a figure 4 on Scurll in the ladder, which looked pretty cool, but honestly, it pales in comparison to some of the other stuff that happened in this match. There was a point towards, let me just say this, there was a lot of crazy stuff early on, but it was just too much to all jot down. I could be talking about this match for like 20 minutes, and honestly, I don't want to do that. I could, but I don't want to do that, so I'm going to kind of jump around here and go to the part towards the midway point a little closer to the end, but there was a point in the match where Scurll, he was propped up on a ladder that was in the corner, and Jay Lethal was about to have, he had his own ladder, and he was about to drive it right into Scurll, but he got out of the way, and the ladder kind of went through the rungs of the other ladder, and they formed an X, which was put in the middle of the ring, and we see Matt Taven get back into things. He's about to hit a suplex on Marty Scurll onto the X part of the ladders, but Marty ends up reversing it, and he gives him a front suplex onto the ladders, which looked pretty cool. Jay Lethal, he ended up coming back in a little bit later, and he dumped the ladder outside of the ring, and the ladder, at least part of it, one of them, almost hit a fan in the front row. So that could have been very dangerous. There was a referee over there checking on him profusely, asking him if he's okay. The fans were chanting lawsuit and stuff like that, so that was kind of funny. But shit like that ain't too funny these days. That could really happen. But yeah, so that was a pretty crazy spot. Marty Scurll, he was doing his finger snap things. At one point, he and Taven were up on the top of the ladder, and he snapped both of the fingers on both of his hands to the point where when Marty and Jay were both down, Taven tried to grab the championship, but he couldn't because his fingers were pretty much broken, or at least in a lot of pain, and he ended up falling off. So I thought that was a pretty clever spot. There were more than just ladders used in this match. There was a chair. I believe early on at one point, Scurll had Lethal upside down with his head in between a rung of a ladder in the corner, and he used a chair to kind of bash in the ladder on Jay Lethal's head, which was just ugly. And then a little bit later, there was a table set up on the outside, and Scurll was outside the ring on the apron, and Taven, through the ropes, hit Scurll with a spear, and they crash down right into the table. Speaking of tables, Jay Lethal used a table of his own. He laid out Matt Taven on a table and climbed up a very, very tall ladder and hit him with a Macho Man-esque elbow drop off the ladder, crashing right onto Matt Taven going through the table. This led to Lethal getting back into the ring. He and Scurll are fighting on top of a moderately sized ladder, and then not too long after that, Matt Taven comes in with his own custom ladder, a purple ladder, which is extremely tall and much taller than the one that Scurll and Lethal was on. So they tried to get back over and try to knock him down, but it was not enough to keep him down. Marty Scurll gets disposed of, and it comes down to Jay Lethal and Matt Taven on top of this ladder. And at some point in there were two other ladders that were positioned as bridges between the ropes and the purple ladder. And it was Matt Taven who ended up knocking Jay Lethal off the top of the ladder, and he came crashing down through one of the bridge ladders. And with Lethal down and Scurll down, there was no one in sight to stop him. Matt Taven climbed up to the top of the ladder and pulled down the ROH World title. And now he is definitively the Ring of Honor World Champion. And like I said, this was a decision that did not sit well with a lot of people. In fact, this was kind of the breaking point for some people. They were like, the fans in the arena did not like Matt Taven. There were many points during the match where they were chanting, "You suck," and "You still suck" whenever he did something kind of cool. They don't like this guy. They do not like this guy at all. And a lot of people on Twitter feel the same way. I personally like him. I think the whole thing of him claiming to be the real world's champion and all that kind of stuff, I thought that was kind of cool. I thought, he had his own custom belt, and I felt like, okay, this has been going on for like a year, maybe even more than that now. They entered the feud finally with Jay Lethal. Lethal destroyed the custom belt. It felt like the only logical next step would be Matt Taven finally winning the Ring of Honor World title, and that's what happened. I don't know if this is as much to do with Matt Taven hate, or if it's more the love for Marty Scurll, but I'm just thinking like Marty has time to get it. You feel me? Like there'll be many other shows. Maybe like I guess people felt like this was the right time to do it because he's honestly he probably is the biggest babyface in Ring of Honor right now. But and it probably would have made sense to put it on him. Hell, I was rooting for the guy to win. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like I hate the fact that they put it on Matt Taven because I like Matt Taven and I dug his story and I feel like the proper way to, you know, cap off that whole story of him claiming to be the real world's champion and being screwed and all that kind of stuff. It felt like the natural ending to that story was him finally winning the championship. And better off now than later on down the line when you don't want it to be taken off of Marty Scurll. But I'm pretty sure Marty's going to get the belt at some point. Could they wait all the way till December at Final Battle? I doubt it. But I feel like it's going to happen. I think the next big babyface to win that championship from Matt Taven is going to be Marty Scurll. It's just a matter of when. Maybe it might happen this summer. You don't know. And then we get to the main event. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship on the line. Jay White, Switchblade Jay White, defending against Kazuchika Okada. And these guys had a really good match. It started a little slow with Jay White pretty much controlling most of the match early on, but it picked up very nicely, especially once Okada got his win back and he went on the offense for a little bit. At one point, we got a spot very similar, if not the exact same spot that we saw in the match these two had back in January at Wrestle Kingdom, where at one point both Jay White and Gato were in the crowd, and Okada did a running diving crossbody over the barricade and landing on both of them to take out both men, including especially Gato. We saw the Okada camera pose, the Rainmaker pose, and we had the whole pull-out thing with the camera. That was really cool. Like, it's just something like that, something small like that, knowing that it's in the most famous wrestling arena in the world, Madison Square Garden, and seeing that with Okada, it's just a really cool thing to see. But it did not lead to a Rainmaker, and we saw Jay White hit the Kiwi Crusher, but it was only good for a near fall. We saw him attempt the Blade Runner, but it got blocked, and Okada instead hit a spinning Rainmaker, then hit another Rainmaker, but it was only good for a 2 count. At one point, Jay White did hit the Blade Runner, but it took out both men, so neither one of them were able to really capitalize on the situation. A little bit later on, Okada was back up. He was about to put away Jay White with another Rainmaker, but Gato got up on the apron and was distracting the referee, and with the ref's back turned, Jay White hit him with a low blow, and it just looked that's going to be an ugly way to finish this match, but it was not the finish. They went into a whole sequence of reversals and move attempts and all that kind of stuff until it was Okada who got the better of him, hit him with a Rainmaker, and still hung on, hit him with another Rainmaker, and then he was going for a spinning Rainmaker to really put a stamp on it, but then Jay White ducked it. He and went for the Blade Runner, but then Okada got him up for the spinning Tombstone and then picked him back up for a spinning Rainmaker and got the 1, 2, 3. So Kazuchika Okada is once again the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. I don't know how many reigns this is for him. I know it's a lot, I'm sure. But he's once again the champion. So, very cool moment. The perfect way to end the show. I have become a Jay White fan, so I was kind of hoping when he initially won the championship, which I didn't think he was going to win it as early as he did, but I was thinking, okay, it makes sense for him, now that he has a championship, to go and have a longer reign, but that's just his first title reign. I'm sure he'll have a second one and maybe even a third one. I'm sure he'll have longer reigns in the future, but on this show, on this night, with this match being the main event, which it should have been the main event, since this match probably did more to put the butts in the seats for Madison Square Garden than the Ring of Honor title match did, it made sense for this match to go on last, and it made sense for it to have that finish. I personally with the New Japan Cup, wanted Kot Ibushi to get the spot in this main event, but I was perfectly fine with it going to Okada, and even more fine with him winning it. I know it's like, okay, just like in WWE, you see the same guys winning over and over again. It's kind of the same thing in Ring of Honor sometimes, where you see Tanahashi win the championship over and over again, and Okada and all these people. Okada held it for like 600 something days, and he's now the champion again. But it's like, I'm fine with it. I don't think he's gonna hold on for like 2 more years. He probably won't end the year with it. Probably won't end the summer with it. He might drop it at the Dominion show or something like that in the summer. I don't know. But yeah, a great main event to end a very, very good show. Like, this was the first time a non-WWE company got to have a show in Madison Square Garden, and this won't be the last. It was announced this weekend that AAA is going to hold a show in MSG later on this year, I think in the fall. So this is picking up steam, and I was very impressed with the majority of the show. Like I said, some production issues were there, which honestly shouldn't be there, since Ring of Honor especially, it really shouldn't be there, since they have a long history of that. And some of the decisions you might not really love all that much, but overall, the wrestling is there, and that's all that matters, is the stories being told proficiently, and they make sense, and to me, they mostly did, so I was not disappointed. Let's say that for WrestleMania tomorrow night. Yeah, I'm exhausted, and gotta get my sleep, gotta get my rest to prepare for WrestleMania tomorrow night, so hopefully I will get to talk to you all then, and for now, I will see all of you later.